Spartans to Podcast Evolved, part of Evolved, your home for Halo. Podcast Evolved hubs original lore series and recaps of all bunch of Halo news. I'm going to leave out the bit where we say last month because we have not met the cadence of a monthly show, so which you're probably already aware of if you're listening to this. I'm your host today, David, and joining me is the lovely Steve. Hey, Steve.
It's good to be back.
Thanks for joining us, Steve. I appreciate it because we weren't doing enough Halo stuff, so Steve had to go create his own. So I did to kind of keep that bug alive that he obviously has. So it's actually interesting because I look back, I was like, this is episode 307, and I was like, when was our last episode? And it was March, and it was also me and you, Steve, which was pretty good. And we covered like January and February, and now it's October, and there you go. That's how
half a year.
Well, I know. To be fair, a lot has happened. I had a baby, and then that kind of killed most of my recording. And then trying to get back into it again was very difficult. And a lot of other people kind of dropped off, so we're kind of struggling. I think it was me, you, and Ian really chatting in the Slack, keeping the place alive.
Well, I mean, there's probably 12 people in total, give or take, and just everyone's in different time zones in different parts of the world, and life gets in the way different times for each one of us. It does. And, 343, which are gone now, so we're blaming Halo Studios not giving us enough content, man, and not giving us the goods to keep us going, and us just failing to create our own. So this is where we are. We are in October. Today we're going to cover kind of some of the bigger news that happened most recently. I didn't go back too far, so there's no really point really. So talk about the kind of Halloween drops and the most recent canon fodder, as well as obviously the rebrand that happened very, very recently. So I'll just do some social stuffs. So if you're new to the show, welcome. Evolved has a whole bunch of kind of different shows, all Halo related. So you're listening to Podcast Evolved. So we talk about pretty much everything about the games, impressions, stuff like that, a bunch of different kind of lore series. We took on everything and bits of news as well. We also have Mission Debrief, which is an older show, Bills with Blocks, HS Pro Talk, Halo TV Plus, and the Book Club, as well as Halo Headlines. But Halo Headlines is kind of a little bit. So it's just kind of the new show where we are now. So all of those can be found on our website, which is haloevolve.co. We also have halopodcast.com, which is really good. So if you found the show, please rate us and leave a review. We greatly appreciate any of the feedback we get, guys, because obviously we need to improve our quality and keep our quality up and not slack, which I have done in the past. So also, I want to take a moment to thank all our patrons. You guys are amazing. I can't believe you're still supporting us. You shouldn't, but you are. So thank you very much. You guys are amazing. Much appreciated. As a Patreon, you get a bunch of exclusive rewards, such as early episodes, unique swag, access to our soundtrack, to our own podcast. Our newest reward, it's still the newest reward, but it's been around a while, is an exclusive podcast show called I Would Have Been Your Podcast that Ian runs. And that's kind of an off-topic Patreon questions, that kind of stuff that we discuss. Anything else you might be curious about. And so if you're, head over to patreon.com/HaloEvolve to learn more. And then also we have an Audible trial link, so that actually helps a little bit to support us. So you can get all the Halo stuff on there, like all of it, it's all on there. So that's audibletrial.com/podcastevolve to learn more and start your free trial. I think it's like a week free trial. That's what you get out of it. Okay, Steve, I'm going to kick to myself really quickly and say, since the last time that we spoke, I have played no Halo until today. No, it's a lie. I think I played once with two of my friends back home like a couple of months ago. Right. And that was good. I kind of bullied them into getting Master Chief Collection installed. It's a weird cacophony of, I'm on Xbox, I have a friend on his Mac laptop and another friend on a Windows laptop. And it's like, what games can we play with each other? And it's a very small pool. But the Master Chief Collection works. So that's been great. So that's what we've been playing it with ourselves. And my friend Steve, he's not as big a gamer as he used to be. Now, he wasn't big at all, really, that much. So he was scrambling for, like, he had left his mouse somewhere. I think it was in work, and he couldn't figure out what to do. So
and because otherwise he was using the touchpad to control, which he tried to play one game doing that, and that was awful.
It's painful.
Yeah. So then he went and dug out a wireless PS3 controller, and then spent about 20 minutes downloading drivers and whatever mods he needed to get that up and running, and got it up and running, which was pretty hilarious to have a PS3 controller on a Windows laptop.
If I'm being perfectly honest with you, some of my earliest days playing Halo were on a PlayStation style controller.
That's hilarious.
I was playing Combat Evolved back in the early 2000s on both Windows and Mac using a USB Logitech controller that was laid out like a PlayStation controller.
Oh, nice.
Because our computer at home was a Mac, and my mom had a trackball for it because that's how she preferred to use a PC.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it felt great for Halo. It was nice to do these really weird trackball flick sniper shots, but I wasn't consistent with it. And then I had a ThinkPad laptop for school that I had Halo installed on, and I had a Windows PC at my dad's house, and it was just easier to have the controller and not have to switch back and forth between different keyboards and trackpad or little thumb nibble thingy in the middle of the keyboard. And I grew up with a PlayStation in the house before I had Xbox, so I was already used to that layout.
That's pretty funny. That's a crazy situation to find yourself in, having to have the move between different control schemes. That would break my brain. But that's pretty cool. So I really enjoyed that. That was obviously good to play with my friends. And since then, I played today. I thought I'd get more in the week because we were prepping for the show, and we were saying, okay, prepping for the show means I put a message in Slack and see who replies. So Steve replied, and we're like, okay, that means the show on. Let's see what we can do. And I tried to get in earlier in the week, and I couldn't. So I went to read what's going on, saw some of the most recent kind of news drops, and hit a waypoint. Was like, oh, this Halloween map sounds awesome. They literally recreated zombie modes from Call of Duty. So I'm like, I have to get in. I texted my brothers. I was like, come on, let's try and get this in. So I have a play date scheduled with my own brothers on Tuesday. So hopefully the next show I can actually talk a bit more about it. But I really liked the mode I played. I got about 2 games in. It was really good. I liked it a lot. I did not know what I was doing. I found the layout quite good, and like the map reveals itself over time and opens up. It's still quite small, but I will say it kind of ramps up obviously in difficulty, and it has
the indoor map or the outdoor map?
It was outdoor, but it was
outdoor,
smaller.
right.
I know there's 3. There's one that's really big, or a bigger one. There's one that's small, that's outdoor, and I know there's an indoor one that I haven't seen yet. It was like in a canyon, the kind of one I was like, I think it was open above, but you're in a little narrow canyon, little twisty one.
A little bit downhill kind of too.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, quite enjoyable. I liked how it was laid out and set up to look like a kind of a zombies map with things on the wall and upgrade areas and stuff like that. So I haven't figured out what everything does yet. I was paying for things and not realizing what they were. Obviously, you die, you lose all your upgrades, you die a lot, so that was kind of painful. And the last game I played, there was one guy who was just amazing at it, but he was not reviving anybody. So the team would wipe, and he would just finish the whole round by himself. And so obviously he was just overpowered as fuck, going through, like, literally carrying us, because we weren't getting the points, we weren't getting the revives. And it was kind of, at the end of it, I was like, my son was awake, so I was like, I'm putting the controller down, this is pointless, I'm just watching this dude run around in circles, kill all the zombies. So that was kind of a bummer. So I think you need to play with a team.
It also tends to snowball at a certain point if you haven't prepared the way that you need to.
Yeah, that's it too. Like, I haven't put any really thought into playing the game yet. Of like, okay, you need to go and power yourself up. You need to do this. You shouldn't be buying that. You need to buy ammo. Okay. And there's no like weapons that are dropping on the map. You can't pick up weapons from the enemies. So you're reliant on the 2 you have. I didn't see any grenades either, other than ones that are being thrown at me. I saw enemies drop them, but I wasn't able to pick them up. So I need to learn really how to play this mode. And I'm going to drag my brothers in to kind of give a go of it. And if we can, Steve, we'll try and get a game ourselves at some stage. But I really enjoyed it. You said you played it as well.
I did. I played it a whole bunch, and I also did a little bit of digging around online just to see what people were saying as far as strategies. I definitely had a few games where I was playing, and I could tell my teammates had equally as little idea of what to do as I did, and we were kind of all just working together to slowly make our way through the low-level waves as we figured it out. And then there were other games where people knew what to do and they were just steamrolling, and I'd get knocked out because I didn't get the right upgrades at the right time.
Yeah.
But I went looking to figure out which upgrades do what. So your damage increase basically just stacks up. There's 4 levels to each upgrade. There's your damage, your health, and then there's a rush one, which is like your reload and melee stuff.
Oh.
Your health is like an incremental increase. So like the first one is a big boost, and then it gets to be an incrementally smaller boost. But that 4th level is vampirism.
Nice.
Yeah, so a lot of what people are saying strategy-wise is you want that vampirism and you want like fast melee speed or something that can shoot fast because you'll get that health back as quickly as you can do damage.
That's really interesting. Okay, that's probably what I was doing wrong. I would never went near the health station or the other rapid station. I tried to boost my damage up and I was like, this must be doing something. And then I die and lose everything. I know they put in like a random box, which is like a zombie mode staple of like, it would have the maps that would have like standard weapons that you could purchase on the walls. Not that many, just a few, but there would always be a random box, and that would give you any weapon in the game randomly. And there could be like boost like modified versions. And as the Call of Duty games progressed, that got wilder and wilder of what was available to you. Get some kind of crazy weapons in there. So obviously Halo has a ton of weapons and a ton of weapons variants as well. So I was very interested to see what they'd have in there. Every single one of my random drops have been awful weapons. So I'm like, God damn it, come on, where's the good stuff? So I know.
What do you mean by awful weapons? Because there is a key. There's a trick to there's a small handful of weapons that are insanely overpowered for this mode once you set them up right. But it's entirely possible if you didn't get the right
like the
upgrade for it.
And like the Mangler, like the things I don't normally use. Do you know what I mean?
The key is the heat wave.
The heat. I actually did pick that up.
So you want a heat wave, and you want to bring it to the perk box that gives it the random qualities. And you want some form of shock rifle variant.
Interesting. I did a couple of upgrades, and then like the icon changes on your weapon to whatever it's affiliated with. So like, let's say I had an assault rifle, and the icon changed to a shotgun, and I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, but obviously it was firing the shotgun rounds like a assault rifle. That seems to be what like how it modifies things. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've gotten some really silly ones. I've gotten a Mangler that shoots rockets. And it was fun, but in such a tight area, it's easy to just take yourself out.
Yeah.
But
I think I did something similar.
The heat wave with the shock wave, the shock rifle properties means you just leave it in horizontal mode and let it bounce off of all the walls and knock down all the enemies. And as it's hitting them, it's chaining lightning to everything around them.
That sounds awesome.
So you get that with a couple of the damage level perks, and you're basically one-shotting your way through half of the waves.
That's awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. So, yeah, I guess it's a good idea. It's a really clever concept, and we're going to talk about in the news a little bit of where it kind of came from and stuff like that, because I kind of got into reading the articles then of like being very intrigued about this group of people and what they've put out, and obviously they got like a community spotlight done. But before we get to that, Steve, it's been a long time, and obviously, like I mentioned, we haven't done anything in a long time that has led Steve to decide, fuck you guys, I'm making my own shit. So Steve, what have you been doing? You are in another Halo podcast, and or like a group, I guess, and you guys are putting out all bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so it wasn't even me saying, all right, I'm going to go start my own thing.
No, I was just messing.
Yeah, no, but we were in our Slack group, and somebody was invited in, and it was Austin of Jumper Skate Media, and you guys were like, hey, this dude here like has a proposal for us, and it was basically just him saying he's starting another Halo podcast project and was looking for volunteers to host. And at the time, everybody involved was kind of busy and had stuff going on, but I had a little too much free time, and apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. It was like, I'll do it. I can make stuff. So we did a little bit of talking, and this started earlier this year, actually, probably not long after our last episode with Evolved. And he's like, yeah, I'm putting together this daily Halo broadcast where it's going to go through a different host with a different show every day for like a 2-week cycle. And here's a list of a bunch of different shows that we can do that don't have hosts for them yet. Pick whichever one you feel most comfortable with doing. And I was like, okay, easy enough. And the Halo news segment was available. I said, this is my wheelhouse. This is what I know. I keep my nose close to social media buzz and to all the different news sites, so I can definitely always compile up what's been happening. So we've just started our second episode cycle now, or circle as we're calling them. So we're just entering our second broadcast ring. As of recording this, today is a Sunday, and today will be my second episode, and I'm the first one in the whole circle of episodes. So it's just kind of getting its legs under it now. All of the hosts are doing a wonderful job. Because it's a 2-week circle, that means 14 shows with 14 different hosts. Everyone's got their own topic. Some guys haven't done this before. Some guys have been around for quite a while doing various content creation projects. And they've all been hitting it out of the park. So we've been calling the whole broadcast Chatternet. And then everyone has a different show name for their own show going through it. But Chatternet is a project of Jumperscape. And you can find all the Jumperscape stuff at jumperscape.com. They've got a Discord. They've got a Patreon, the whole 9 yards. So if you want to find Chatternet stuff that I've been doing or that any of the other hosts have been doing, that's where you can find it. And there's a little bit of something for everybody. It's not even just all Halo stuff. There's a couple of episodes later in the circle that just discuss other gaming news and fan creation stuff.
That's awesome. And it seems like you're on the, I'm not going to say shorter side, but a lot of the episodes can be 20. Some of them are 40. Like they kind of bounce around.
Well, our goal is just to average somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes, and then everything beyond that is kind of at each host's discretion.
Good, yeah.
While this was a project helmed by Austin at Jumperscape, he basically told us, you guys, your show is yours. You've got creative control as long as, we hit certain standards so we can be consistent across the board. Otherwise, it's just been have at it.
That's awesome. All right, fair play, yeah. That's a crazy idea. But I like it, and obviously you're already starting now, but you have a show every 2 weeks to do for yourself, and I want everybody. That's such a strong cadence. You're putting out daily content like that. It's definitely
a huge undertaking. It's a lofty goal to have, but the guys that are involved in the project, they've got all the skill and all the power to be able to pull it off. They've been doing other podcasts for a while before Chatternet was a thing. So I've got the utmost confidence we'll be able to just keep the train chugging along.
Hell yeah. That's great work, man. Fair play to you. So once again, guys, that's called Chatternet. Check it out. Subscribe. Go give this guy support. Have a listen. See what you think. They'll be putting out way more content than we will. I'll tell you that much in the future. We'll tip ourselves along. But let's see what we can do. Okay.
It's a community collaborative effort, so we can always reach out to each other. Evolved can always collaborate with us. We're always looking to collaborate with other members of the community.
Awesome. I like that. Because as the game content slows down, and even like the other media content slows down, it's only us. It's only the people around that we're left making anything. So we'll help ourselves out. Talk to each other, create something new.
I mean, the fans are what carry this franchise, especially through these long runs between mainline title releases. It's always been about fan passion and fan creation. We've had crazy custom stuff, mods, multimedia creations throughout the years, and the fans are what control the tide that raises and lowers all the ships.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get into some of this news we've been talking about. So, Steve, if you don't want to double dip, that's fine. You could just say, no, we've done that already, or whatever. Or maybe you have an insight you want to talk about again, or to delve in a little bit further. So, we have had, kind of in reverse order, let's say, in terms of the news that's happening. So, what really kind of prompted me of a comeback of, we need to do an episode was the drop of 343i is no more. We are now Halo Studios. So, they dropped a video about called Halo New Dawn, and it's essentially about Halo moving to Unreal Engine, and I think this might be the official announcement that that's what they're doing. That they're no longer using. Yeah, it is. So there was rumors of this for years that Halo was moving the slip space, or not from the slip space engine to Unreal 5. aren't even just changing Infinite over, but it looks like that's obviously not the case. They have the video kind of talked about this project called the Foundry, which is very much the idea behind tool creation and like the concepts behind making Halo in Unreal 5. And they put out some images, some kind of world kind of landscapes. They put out 3 different ones. Obviously it's Unreal 5, looks beautiful. It looks like Halo, it looks good. They had an Elite, they had a Master Chief, and they put out like a flood landscape, a snowy one, and the typical one you've seen like of what the Halo ring looks like. They have a region that they refer to it as. It's a Pacific Northwest of America, kind of like, I think that's the correct region.
Just the very foresty, lush landscape, rocks, waterfalls.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Lovely weather. So it looked.
You guys know what a Halo ring looks like. Exactly. You've all been there.
Exactly. So, and also with this kind of rebrand, it's definitely, you can see like a push away from 343i in the past. It's a recruitment video as well. They're looking for people to come and join. So it's not a game announcement. It's a kind of studio refresh that they were pushing. So, and you can kind of surmise some things from that information of what they're trying to do here. The video had a whole bunch of new people, new faces in new roles. So it was interesting. It really kind of jazzed me up a little bit, and like, okay, it's not a game, so let's like, this isn't like Halo's fixed or anything like that. It is very much just. And it makes sense, and you could have argued it even in 2018 when they first kind of came out with the Slip Space Engine announcement of like, they want to focus on making the game, not on supporting an engine and then making a game in that. So you'd imagine a move to an engine that's as ubiquitous as Unreal would make sense. So what's your take on this, Steve? How did you find it? What did you think?
All right, so when I first saw it, it wasn't just that they released a video on it. They did it during HCS Worlds, and I was watching Worlds when it happened because they were like, oh, we have a big studio announcement coming right before the grand finals. So there's a whole bunch of talk and rumblings within the community of like, okay, what could this studio announcement possibly be? It was already confirmed that they're not announcing a game. And a bunch of people ended up correctly theorizing like, oh, I bet 343 is doing some kind of rebrand of the studio.
Oh, nice.
So
they called it.
What ended up happening was they did like a live on stage reveal with Pierre Heinz coming out on stage. He came and he sat down and talked a little bit, and then they launched into this video. And at the end of the video, it was a reveal that it was Halo Studios and not 343. And when it came back from the video, from when the camera feed that the audience was watching online came back from the video feed, he had taken off of his shirt and underneath was wearing a shirt with the new Halo Studios logo.
Oh, right.
So it was like a whole tandem thing of we're doing Unreal in line with being a new studio name. But I think it says a lot also because if we remember, Pierre was the one who got tasked to MCC that was behind leading that team to fixing a lot of the major issues with the game. He was the one basically credited with writing the ship. And us within the Halo community, we know 343 has been going through a lot of staff changes over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of turnover, especially high-level positions. So a rebrand right now, I think, is more just a reflection of those staff changes that all happened. Pierre is now the one in charge of all the main stuff going forward. He's not just relegated to MCC. So we'll see if now he's going to do a lot of ship writing with Infinite, if there's any to be done with that, even though we're kind of on smaller content updates now. They did say their next game's not going to be for a couple of years, but they do have multiple projects going.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was thinking with the rebrand and the move to like Unreal 5, my brain like that killed any possibility of Halo Infinite DLC. I'm just like, that's not a thing now. Their focus is going to be on the new game or like ramping up to whatever that is. Now they did say multiple projects, so I'm not sure.
Their specific phrasing was multiple titles as well, so take that with what you will.
Yeah. Other game types, that'd be great to see Halo move into different genres. That'd be interesting. Obviously, people want the offshoots. Give us an ODST game again, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if any of this is. We're obviously just spitballing based on very loose information we were given.
Right. We haven't had any sort of real official commentary on the situation ever since that reveal.
Yeah.
It was pretty much just that, and then we've been sitting on it ever since.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you'd call it a vertical slice of graphical stuff that we saw, because it wasn't a vertical slice of game or anything.
No.
But just the little visual tech demo we saw, it looks good. But it's one of those things where, like, how many beautiful gameplay reveal trailers have we seen before, or reveal demos have we seen before that's like, oh, this is just an in-engine rendering, not indicative of actual gameplay footage. And then 3 years later, the game comes out looking nothing like that.
Yeah. And there's no split screen, and there's no this, and there's no that, and then, yeah. So, very much, I think I'm in the same boat. I like what they're going for. They're going for a refreshing themselves. Okay, that's fine. They're moving away from this space. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. If it means we get Halo more Halo more often, to steal the Warhammer kind of tagline. But I'm down for it. I'm not expecting a Halo game anytime soon, but now this feels like maybe it's going to be longer again. So it's going to be a dry spell for sure for us Halo content creators. If we're waiting on just games. But I guess
what I'm hoping for, I'm not really hoping for games faster per se. What I'm hoping for is, because they're working with an established engine that people would have experience with prior to actually working with 343/Halo Studios, whatever. People didn't have the ability to work on Slipspace or Blam outside of the company before. There was no industry-wide experience with that engine.
True.
So hopefully the people coming in that have experience with Unreal will be able to just focus on working with it rather than learning it or making it work the same way we heard so many things about Slipspace.
Yeah.
And that means they could focus on doing the right things with the game rather than just doing it faster. I'm hoping for more quality out of it.
Sure. I mean, I didn't think the quality of Halo Infinite was bad. I just didn't like...
That's not really what I mean out of it, but what I'm saying is they probably had to spend so much more time with the Slipspace engine to get things to work right.
Sure,
versus if, they're working with something more stable, more easily documented, more easily workable like Unreal, things will just work right earlier on, hopefully, and they could then, get something in concrete and go, okay, this is not an issue. We don't have to worry about this down the line. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
I mean, just look at Infinite, like the whole UI can't handle it thing. They were worried about the UI breaking because of having too many playlists on it. And like, that's something, like in the development cycle as you're working on, it's like, this is a thing that might be a problem down the line. But we're going to do what we can and just hope it doesn't pop up. And then if it pops up, we have to double back and wade through all this mess and try and fix it without breaking something else.
Yeah. So hopefully, I would say it's a given that Unreal 5 is going to be easier to work with than Slipspace. So that should give us a better game in the end, or better games in the end. So fingers crossed. Best of luck to those dudes going for it. I can't wait to see what game they're going to do, how they're going to take it, move on from Infinite, and even just what else we get from it. Okie dokie. So there was cannon fodder. There's a bunch of cannon fodder stuff here, so I might bounce between them. So the most recent issue was cannon fodder called Blightlands and Brigands. It was issue 158. So there's a bunch of interesting stuff in this. I kind of just cherry picked a few bits because we've kind of talked about some stuff already that they've referenced, and they pretty much kind of deep dived into the flood taking over a planet and a flood landscape. So there's a lot of kind of stuff we already knew, but it kind of rehashing a little bit of like how floods kind of operate and like consume an environment. So they kind of just talked a little bit about that, which was interesting. It was fine. Their touching point, they talked about Janissaries, which isn't a term I'd heard before, but is a recent term based on some of the recent Halo lore they've put out that I haven't caught up on yet. So have you done all the Chronicles, Steve? Have you managed to listen to all the auto books they've been putting out all year? even since last
I haven't been listening to all of them.
Yeah.
I did catch the most recent one, which was like a callback to Dare and
That's the
little
one
bit of Buck.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm very excited to get to that one. I'm gonna listen to the other two that I have in the backlog and dragging in and do some podcasts on those ones. But the most recent one, they have about Janissaries are a shadowy counterparts to UNSC Spartans. They're super soldiers, but forged in the crucible of ambition, not valor, which is an interesting kind of distinction. So, and then they kind of delve into the different types of in-universe super soldiers that we have. So we've heard of like ones that are essentially just people given combat drugs to kind of up themselves. So it was all kind of how the insurrection was trying to combat the Spartan program, and bits and pieces like that. And then it kind of goes a bit further out onto like the berserkers that just take drugs and go mental, and then you have the what they call the prelates, which are the kind of super soldiers of the Sanshonium kind of race, the prophet race, which is kind of really interesting because we knew about them already. So I like to have a term just for a catch-all term. So I think that touches into see what like you were just mentioned. There's Halo, the Venetian Sonata, which is a cool name. So that's Captain Veronica Dare is deployed to Venezia on a reconnaissance missions to investigate the emergence of a potential new threat, which is probably as super soldiers. So I don't know the story, I won't spoil it for myself, but I imagine that's where the Janus series came out of this.
Kind of, sort of, cool, heavily implication one way or the other.
Nice. And I love, obviously, Dare we haven't seen in many years, since the last book that had her in it that I'm blanking on, that New Blood, Old Blood, one of those, that featured
it was New Blood, Bad Blood. I always mix up which one comes first. But it was that series. This was the most recent we've seen of her since that series. Super. Basically since like Halo 5. I like it. Okay.
So that's kind of cool. Like I said, very intriguing. I love Venezia. It's one of my favorite places in universe. So I'm very excited to get back to it and kind of get a bit more. So if you haven't listened, go listen to that, guys. I'm sure it's quite decent. Steve, would you give it a thumbs up? 2 thumbs up even?
Yeah, I would. It's one of those things where you're going to wonder as you go into like, what's going on here? Why are they telling me this story? And then you get to the reveal and it doesn't really say anything, but it more just heavily implies at what would come in the future. And you're like, oh, shit.
Cool. I like it. So there was more in that if you want to go read it and check it out, obviously, on that story. There was a thing called Cannon Fodder Live, which I think is not the first time they've done this, but I feel stupid for not knowing about either of them. So I think it was at the same event. You were talking about Worlds. Did you catch this, Steve, the Cannon Fodder Live that they did?
I didn't catch it myself, but it was another stage event at Worlds. Worlds had a lot of stuff going on at it. And I believe a couple of the guys from Jumperscape got involved with that as well, because it was something they did with people in the audience, with people from the community, getting on stage for a bunch of these different little events and discussion forums they had. Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that. So from that, one of the things that caught my eye was Halo Empty Throne by Jeremy Patnude. So we knew this was the title and the author. So Jeremy hasn't written a book for us in quite some time. So he's coming back in. And we got a little bit of a breakdown of like characters that are returning in this book. So just by the returning characters gets me super hyped for this story. So we have Hod will be there, Osman, Black Box, BB on Roshback's World. We're finally going back to these characters where we left them way back at the beginning of where the created kind of kicked off. I can't remember that story. It might have been the end of Kilo 5. No, not Kilo 5, way after that. I'm blanking, but anyway, we'll carry on. We have the beloved Sally Neon leads the Covenant on a holy mission as Aatrox and Esturm enact their plans for the assault on Zeta Halo, spurred into action by the raising of the Ocean system. And if you're a fan of Grey Team, which everybody is, even if you don't know who they are, you're a fan of them, and the Shadow of Intent crew, we think you'll really like this book. So that's some good shit. That's how you sell me on a Halo book. Steve, have you picked up on this? Have you seen this info for this book before?
I've picked up on bits of it. I haven't looked at whatever whole write-up there is of what we know about it completely just yet. But I know we're just kind of relying very heavily in the lore ecosystem of the events leading up to Infinite right now. It seems like all of the writers, all the storytellers just have that to lean on right now. Maybe because we don't know what direction the story is going to go. but I think because of how little we saw of all of our main cast of characters in the current day in Infinite, like we haven't seen Lasky, we haven't seen any of Blue Team outside of Chief, we haven't seen any of Osiris. We don't know where any of these characters we've gotten attached to over recent years are. So if we're going to at least find out in a book that's something, you know, we've got all these loose ends that the universe has left for us between books and comic books and various cutscenes from different games. So it's nice to get some of these loose ends tying back in. I do hope we start to get some resolution and attachment to the current day events in Infinite and start moving forward from it sometime soon.
Yeah, I am very intrigued by that myself as to where the next content drop will take post Infinite and who it will include, because they've tried to sell us on the new breed of Spartans and I don't think they took, to be perfectly honest. So now we just have, they know they need to focus on Chief, but there's everyone else pre Infinite that we don't, like everybody you mentioned we don't know that we should know. So let's hopefully this gets like going back to Hood, Osmond, and BB. I'm extremely excited by that. I'm obviously I love Grey Team. Oh my goodness, and the shadow about this, and obviously figuring out like we still don't really know what Aatrox and Ishram were doing at all with during Infinite, or even like what's the end game here? What's going on? Even with the legendary ending, there's very little revealed to us. So hopefully maybe leading into why they're there. And I know there's a whole get revenge on Cortana because she blew up her homeworld kind of thing. But I would like more of what they're doing. At least just to give us a sense of like what the rest of our characters are kind of fighting against. Okay, so like the creators are out there, they're diminished now. Cortana is not there. But the world is just in such a mismatch of a state that it's just hard to keep track of what people they're doing in different places.
Well, I think you're segueing a little perfectly into it. You're talking about the created is diminished now with Cortana done, right? So I think that's what the empty throne is alluding to. Is the main power of the galaxy has now been unseated. Oni and all of their spook stuff. They're like, okay, what kind of slick back alley, Black Ops tricks do we need to pull to either have humanity retake the seat of like power in the galaxy, or at least prevent our enemies from taking that seat? They're always up to some no good stuff, with the elites, even though they're supposed to be our allies now. There's always something going on that's like, we need to make sure anybody that's not us isn't ascending.
I love this. This is good stuff. Well done, Empty Tron. I didn't even cop that. I love it. Okay.
I'm assuming it could be something completely different. I could be completely talking out of my ass, but that's what I'm assuming because that's the state of the universe as we currently see it right now.
I like it. Okay. And speaking of books, they did announce that the next book following Empty Throne will be coming from Kelly Gay. That's all they've said. Stay tuned for details in 2025. So they cannot get rid of Kelly and Troy, no matter how hard they try. They keep coming back to write books for us. So the next one is from Kelly, which is great. So let's keep that up. So what are we doing? The flood drop, like I said. So yeah, let's. I'm gonna jump ahead in one of the last points I have in my script just to say that in September there was the 10-year anniversary of Cannon Fodder, which seems crazy because I remember the first one when they started it up, the series. So there was a whole kind of post just about this, reflecting back, essentially going back with Jeff to the Cannon Fodder. So on the December 24th, 2014 was issue 001 of Cannon Fodder, and it was called Feet First. So I read kind of the article, and just go check it out, guys. I don't want to really talk too much about it. It's obviously a month or two behind, so it's not all very relevant now, but I kind of liked it. It was kind of crazy to think about that Cannon Fodder is that old, but then so are we. We are also that old. So there you go. We started before Cannon Fodder, so we win. Then I will jump back up again in my script. Where was I going to say? Oh yes, let's go back to the Halloween Operation launch. So Halo Infinite gets the Halloween update. This is one of the coolest ones I can remember. I think last year's one they had a whole a yap themed kind of thing. Was it something like that, like the yappening? I think they did around Halloween.
I think it was yappening too.
Yeah, something like that. I think was around Halloween time. So They obviously there's a new pass, there's a new armor set, there's a new kind of custom kind of animation on that kind of set. There, it's really kind of interesting. There, I like the design. I don't love it, but I like it. It's good enough.
It's Frankenstein and Spartan armor. That's all it is.
I thought I had written it down. I did. It's called Spartanstein armor set.
It's like called Spartanstein, and then like it's obvious when you look at the face because it's got the Frankenstein bolts coming out of the back of the jaw area.
The armor, the headpiece is really good. The headpiece, helmet, if you will. There we go. Is really cool. I like the design of that. That is actually good. So there's a new Operation Pass that's free. It's 20 tiers. You get the armor set at the end of it. There is a few kind of information's kind of dropped with it, but what really stood out to me was we talk at the start of the show, the kind of zombie mode that was made by a group called Forge Falcons, who I hadn't heard of before. I haven't really kept really up to date with creators, but they did a community spotlight on this group that I read and got really into. I'm like, these guys sound amazing. How they kind of run themselves like a studio. They have groups of people dedicated to do certain areas, certain aspects, shall we say, of the design of what they're doing, and they just sound really well organized and really well put together. The first thing I've played of them was the zombie mode. So when they started describing the map, how it's designed like a remake of the original zombie map, which I can't pronounce now, but it's Die something, or it's called like the Night of the Dead in German. I used to know it off by heart. I can't remember now. I feel really bad. Plus two other maps, like we talked, like a smaller one and a bigger one. Really impressed with their remake of Zombies. That was a classic for myself and my brothers. One of the few things we actually played together was zombie mode in Call of Duty, and we played a lot of them over the years. I dropped out the most recent ones I haven't touched in quite some time, and I know there's a new game dropping real soon. If not, I think next week. I think the next one, I can't remember the launch of the next COD, but it's really soon. So that's on Game Pass, so maybe we'll check it out. But anyway, I'm dragging my brothers in to play this mode next week. I cannot wait to get together with a team, coordinate, figure out the maps, figure out what they do. There's some Easter eggs in there. Let's see what we can find. So I know you said before, I think it was before we were recording, Steve, that you didn't play much Call of Duty. You weren't familiar with this, so you were just jumping in fresh to the mode and kind of what it does. So it has obviously, over time they've added kind of different elements to it, so that the ability to upgrade yourself and the ability to upgrade your weapons and have modifications and various other kind of things that you can pick up on the map that interface with different kind of things. Like I think this game I think I saw someone walk over a purple thing on the ground and it like exploded and like blew up enemies. So that's a common thing as well that they had in Zombies, where you could find essentially a
random power-ups.
Yeah, power-ups on the map. So drops like that. So you could potentially find things that give you bonus scores in zombie mode. And then there was the famous the nuke, which is if you see a big ass nuke sitting on the map, if you walk over it, it kills every zombie on the map instantly with little kind of nuclear kind of explosions, which is really cool. So I haven't seen that in this game, so I don't think they'll have that. But that was always fun. You obviously like you wait until enough enemies spawn that you're completely overwhelmed, and then you trip the nuke, and you're like, oh yeah, it's satisfying. So Zombies was good. That Call of Duty Zombies was good for that kind of stuff, and great kind of 4-player co-op. And I love to see that mode. And it's not something I ever even considered. Like, you know, people say, oh, we want this type of mode or this type of mode in Halo. Give me a battle royale. Never thought of a zombie mode. So I really appreciate it.
I mean, I've seen modes like this by playing through the custom games browser. There's been plenty of...
I'm sure there's tons of stuff in there I'm unaware of. So this is the first time I've seen something like this highlighted.
Well, the Forge Falcons guys, they took it to a whole nother level. Like, once we got pretty in-depth scripting, there were a lot of people rigging up in-game economy point-based systems where you can buy gear as you progress throughout the match. But I think the implementation...
Yeah, that's the thing I didn't consider. That they had to custom make that. That's such... That it allows for that is such ingenious that you could get these points and then spend them on...
Yeah, the being able to spend them is wild. And then they have like a point share system. If your teammates are low on points and you have a lot, you can like deposit that they can withdraw or something like that. I haven't utilized
can you? That's
yeah,
cool.
There's a share box somewhere. But like beyond that, I think the big key was the implementation of campaign level AI. You know, because one of the things I think you probably saw it in the write-up, they said one of their early implementations was just using like multiplayer bots, and I'm sure that was really limiting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just campaign AI was the big kicker. I know they said there were a few other little things they could hope for, but it probably won't evolve too majorly after this. I do believe I saw them put out a tweet that, like, it's going to get removed from matchmaking at some point and then come back, and when it gets removed, they're going to make a few more tweaks. That way, when it comes back, it's a little bit better.
Yeah, that's really cool, though. Imagine making a map and having it pulled in to be in matchmaking, like on the front of the multiplayer. That's a huge boon. Like, that's a good win, man. Fair play to these dudes. Because when I realized, okay, these maps are going to go, this mode is going to disappear, I need to get in and find it. Like, I find the custom browser, I haven't spent enough time with it to understand what the hell I'm doing. I've tried to jump into other people's games, and they never seem to be running right. The map isn't working, or there's something wrong with the mode, or I never understand what I'm doing. So I was like, man, I need to get out of here. So I searched for these maps and bookmarked them. And then I searched for the modes and bookmarked them. So that hopefully that even when it goes off matchmaking, I can still create custom games of these. And maybe even spend some time soloing them and kind of figuring out what to do with them. So that's something I tried to figure out. And hopefully that's what I've done is what I think it'll do with that. It's just there for me now to pull and play anytime I want. Presumably they don't get removed.
I think what they've been doing whenever they bring a new game type in and they throw it up on the featured playlist, after it comes off of the featured playlist, usually it's still available in the match composer in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if that'll happen with this, but like the last one was One Shot Slayer, and once that rotated out for this to come in, One Shot is available in one of the other playlists. I think it's in Quick Play because I had it selected when I was trying to play a bunch of Husky Raid games, and it popped up. I was playing with a couple people and was like, yeah, you guys want to do some Husky Raid, just kind of something casual, fun. And then our first game was One Shot Slayer, and I was like, oh no, I didn't uncheck it in the composer.
That's cool. Okay, that's more or less everything I really wanted to talk about. These are all the things that just caught me in the last week or so of me just digging into Halo news and trying to see, not going back too far, but like, what have I missed? Oh yeah, ODST hit 15 years. That was a thing as well recently. That's incredible and like crazy. So Halo 3 ODST turns 15. That was where the One Shot Slayer mode kind of came out around the same time as that. So that's pretty cool. There is, leading off from the finding of Forge Falcons, I went onto their Twitter, followed them. I need to know what they're doing. Their like pinned tweet, and I think it was also in one of the faction focus, one of the breakdowns they were talking about. Their next upcoming thing is a Hell Jumper. I don't even know what it is, but it's a Hell Jumper.
It's like the Halo equivalent of what Helldivers is. They're trying to replicate a Helldivers-like experience that still feels Halo.
Oh, shit. I did not put that together. Damn. And I like, Helldivers sounds awesome, and I haven't played it. But an idea of that style stuff that's in Halo, very exciting. Hell yes. I'm down for this. That's very cool.
And with the way they did Survive the Undead, I'm sure they've got a solid foundation here for this mode. I'm sure they really got everything kind of dialed in.
I like that, yeah. And that's coming soon, I
Early
think.
November.
Early November.
Or I'm sorry, no, that's October 25th. Early November was something else. Early November is when we're going to see, apparently, third person get added in as a mode for Firefight.
What?
Yeah, that was another one of the many recent reveals. Like, I don't know if this was another Worlds reveal or if it was right before. I think it might have been right before it, but they're going to start implementing a third-person mode in the game. Not as like an across-the-board feature, but it'll be game mode specific, and they're going to start with Firefight.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, but so we got a couple of things we're looking forward to, like on the near horizon.
Hell yeah. Okay. Again, just to point out, obviously, the community holding us up, keeping us going. This is awesome. And obviously, 343, our Halo studios, are still supporting us.
It's like Twitter and X. Everybody still calls it Twitter. We're still calling them 343.
Yeah, I know. I probably still will for some time.
Till they make their first thing. When they make their first thing, then we'll call it Halo Studios. Right now, they're just inheriting all of 343's problems.
Yeah.
Although I will say, when they did the reveal at Worlds, if you were watching the stream online, when you're watching matches, there's the scoreboards on the bottom of the screen and like kind of a little ticker with logos that it rotates through in the bottom center of the screen. And one of the logos that always shows is like the HCS logo and then the 343 Industries logo. And immediately after the reveal happened and they jumped into the finals, they had changed the ticker on the bottom of the screen. So it was saying Halo Studios instead of 343.
They're on the ball. They're ready to move. I will say I'm not a fan of the logo.
I don't think anybody is, and I've heard some talk that like even internally they weren't thrilled with it, and they're like, why didn't we just have somebody in the community design it? But you know, Microsoft still has corporate control over everything. Who knows if it was a Microsoft call?
Who knows? Who knows? Or even just Xbox themselves. I know it's 343 managing themselves and Xbox and Microsoft.
Well, I mean, Xbox Game Studios just saw a change in leadership as well, did it not?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they're changing.
Everything's changing, and you know, we're changing a little bit too here. Did you want to go over like what our plans for the future of Evolved are going to be, just so people know what to expect before we start wrapping things up?
You should, Steve, because I missed that call, so I don't know. So, yeah, but we're wrapping up the show. So, Steve, please do let me know.
All right. I mean, realistically speaking, we haven't been doing a ton of content here on a consistent basis at Evolve this past year. And again, a lot of it has been to do with the news we've had released, the stuff that 343 or now Halo Studios has dropped throughout the year. It hasn't been big. It's just been status quo of little updates to the game. So moving forward, Evolved is going to try and aim for like just a monthly episode. We're not going to aim to do, you know, a bunch of stuff in a week or try and aim to hit a schedule that maybe all the different hosts are too busy trying to live their lives to be able to keep. Again, everyone in different countries, different states, different time zones. Scheduling can be a nightmare sometimes. But we're going to try and lock in at least one episode a month where we can just get caught up on everything that's happened in the last month, keep the community up to date, and, you know, hopefully provide a little bit of entertainment, see what kind of creative, fun stuff we can come up with in the meantime.
I love it. That's perfect.
So Evolved isn't going anywhere. We are taking our foot off the pedal a little bit so we don't kill ourselves trying to scrounge and come up with content just for the sake of making content, because we don't want to do that.
True. So, thank you very much, Steve. Anything else you want to add before I wrap up here?
Not really. I think we pretty much covered it all. Again, like I said, up until recently, it's been pretty much status quo. We had like 1 week of big reveals and then nothing elaborating on it since. So what can we really do without trying to clickbait or hype train people?
Yeah, that's true. Okie dokie. So everybody, thank you for joining us. Like we made to the top of the show, you can find every episode to all of our shows, the various types, all on our website, which is haloevolved.co. You will see evolvedhalo.co as well. You will find all of the unique podcast feeds there online for you. If you want to listen to everything all in one feed, you can follow the Halo Podcast Evolve feed on your favorite podcast service. Please leave us a review so you'll get everything there. And once again, a special shout out to our patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us through this time. You guys are incredible. So thank you so much. And if you want to leave a voicemail, it still exists. We don't get too many, but it's still there. If you want to dial in, it's 205 Evolved. That's 205-386 5833. And with that, I've been your host today, David. And until next time, Evolved.